Well, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. You're buying what they're selling without
because you're using their format.
Without superficially admitting you're using their network.
Yeah, and if you do, you have to be somewhat complicit in their insanity. They have robes that they wear during some ceremonies. The torchbearer's robe or the seed mover robe. And they do secret, clandestine things. I love it. And I think anything that speaks to you should explore. It's a separation of the dogmatic, institutionalized traditions of the Catholic Church, right? So yeah, it's a different way of looking at things, but it's not too different. See, I'm not an atheist.
Right.
But I like atheist philosophers. And I like Christian philosophers or theologians as well. You know, I like the Pope, you know, is a pretty fun person, even though I don't agree with everything he says either.
This is the Cameron and Dare podcast with me, Cameron and Dare. This is episode 7. Today is TJ Cowgill. We met up at different First Studios in the Mission District of San Francisco. We talked about San Francisco, fraternal organizations, Seattle, touring, technology, and religion. Here's TJ.
What happened to your paw?
I just
Sprained it?
Yeah, I slammed skating day before yesterday.
So I can't do that
It's
stuff.
like just kind of darkened right there, and then yeah,
maybe like a contusion.
it might be fractured, but I got to check it out. I've
How's your mobility in it?
done worse. It
Feels okay?
I can do this.
And does it hurt?
Yeah, I can't lift or anything.
Whew. You gotta take it easy.
Yeah, no, I've got like screws and a plate in my leg, so
From the same accident?
no, from like a decade ago.
Oh. Yeah, I really hurt my hand in a bar fight in Berlin. I severed 2 tendons in my middle finger.
Ow.
How? Ouch, yeah.
Ow, yeah, ow.
Yeah, I glassed this guy with a whiskey glass. I just smashed it in his face. But the bottom of it cut into this tendon and severed both the tendons. And they went back to hear my palm. So they did surgery. I had surgery in Brussels to reconnect it. But it doesn't close anymore, like, ever again. Because that last tendon didn't take.
Yeah.
And so it snapped back into my hand. So now it's here.
Well, it's better than your left hand because then you can still play instruments.
Yeah, I would have had to really figure out how to do it, you know, all over again.
Yeah, I grew up playing the violin, and it was always a big deal not to hurt myself on my left hand.
Not right as much, yeah.
A bar fight. What was the context?
This guy, he was being really rude. He was in there with his friends, and he's being rude to my girlfriend and kind of trying to flirt with her, I think. But I gave her this rose. I hadn't seen her in a few months, and I was really happy to see her. And gave this rose, and he broke it. So I just smashed him. Yeah, it was foolish of me, but he didn't do anything really to deserve it.
Huh.
But I lost my temper.
Yeah.
Which is not good, you know. Try not to do that. So this is where I talk. This is where I listen.
Yeah. You don't have to use the headphones if you don't want to. I do.
Hello. I do usually on these things. This is cool. This is cool.
Yeah. I've been on a hiatus. I paused. I did a lot of episodes and then
That's cool.
haven't done this for like 3 weeks now. So hopefully it'll be kind of fresh.
Nice. Try and talk into this thing.
You're good.
Cool.
I didn't think I was going to make it on time either because I was like, oh, I have an hour and a half to kill. So I went and skated down to Mishka and was like chatting it up. And then by the time I looked at
What's Mishka?
the Mishka, the clothing store, yeah.
They have one here now?
Yeah, my buddy owns the one
That's cool.
down the street. And so I raced over here and I was like pouring sweat. Just
Don't worry about it, man.
So you just got into town?
Yeah, we stayed in Mountain View last night, actually.
Oh, yeah.
My girlfriend who does foie gras, who's on tour with us.
Ifignia.
Yeah.
I met her almost a year ago.
Yeah. Her parents live there, so We came in. We drove straight from Seattle all the way there.
Oh, you drove down?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from around there too. So I grew up around there.
Really?
Yeah.
Parents worked for Google or something?
No, I mean...
It's all tech stuff over there.
It is, yeah.
It's a lot of money down there. But it's not bad. I mean, it's nice. That's why, a lot of people have been getting broken into.
Oh, yeah?
Well, bands have been robbed, in San Francisco. So I didn't want to stay in the city.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to stay here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's like almost a rite of passage to get your van broken into.
That's the sad state of things now. It's just happening to, I think, a lot of bands I know have been robbed lately. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Because there's not much you could do about it,
Sleep in the van.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done stuff like that before, but I don't know why. I don't know if people are like targeting bands, if they're getting smart to that. I hope not, but
yeah.
That's pretty dark.
Yeah, I mean, I've been robbed before in the city, and I got some waters too.
Cool, thanks. Are we going? Is this going?
Yeah.
Great.
Just let it rip. Yeah, I've been robbed before at gunpoint in Golden Gate Park, actually. And like,
it's crazy down here. Why is it so? Is it just the rent? Because rent it costs so much. People are just robbing each other all the time.
I don't know.
It's a big city.
Yeah. It's all sort of. I mean, Bayview, Hunters Point is the worst area where there's like gun violence, and the rest of the city is mostly just drugs. Like the TL is not really violence, but
there's a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
In the TL. Yeah. I know a guy there.
That could get me drugs?
Yeah. For sure. And he also has guns. I don't know. I don't know. That stuff's not so scary to me. It's scary if you're getting a gun pointed at you and you're mugged for your personal stuff. That's not cool.
Yeah. That was a game changer.
So what'd you do?
It was back when
I just gave them. They said, "Give me."
Yeah, it was back when I was growing weed. That was my main source of income. So pretty much I afforded living here for so long.
Yeah,
and so it was before the dispensary industry was really established enough for vendors to, and also I didn't really have a network of dispensaries at that point.
Right.
So I was doing it the dumb way,
which is on the street.
Right. Yeah, so.
But you weren't with anybody.
No.
So then you got robbed.
Yeah. It wasn't even that much weed. It was like a QP or something, like a quarter pound or something.
That's not that much. But then they took your money too?
I don't think there was any money involved. They took my phone.
That sucks.
Yeah. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. It's, it happens. I think that's why I like to live in nicer neighborhoods, I've always said that there's a hidden cost if you live in, like people go, I like to live in, the poor neighborhoods in Seattle where I'm from because the rent's cheap. They're like, I get a big place and it's cheap. And I'm like, but there's a hidden cost. You might get robbed or, you might get stabbed or shot. Then you have to go, then you have a hospital bill.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Yeah, it's true.
That might equal as much rent as you would pay in a nice neighborhood,
Yeah.
But yeah, where I'm from in Seattle it's not the nicest neighborhood either, down on the south end. And so I just don't like bad neighborhoods. I don't find the charm in it. Some people do. They find them charming. I'd rather live in a nicer setting. So I live downtown Seattle, actually, in the Pike Place Market.
Yeah.
And that's really nice just because all the tourists. So they have so many tourists coming through there that the cops are always there. And market security, they have their own security force. And, so it's not too much trouble.
It's like a neighborhood security that's part of the city?
It's like a private security. It's market security. Either the community somehow hires it. I don't know how it works.
So I don't know Seattle that well. I have a few friends up there.
It's a nice city. It's a safe city, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd really have to be a dummy to get mugged. I don't know. You'd have to be out there trying to buy drugs or doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
It's not like here where, you can walk down the street and somebody will just rob. I mean, everybody I know has
Yeah, it's a
Seems
mixed
like-
bag depending on where you go. There's also a huge separation between the very, very high and the very, very low here. And when you're
Yeah.
in this neighborhood, at least, I lived on this block across the street here for nearly 8 years.
This neighborhood's changed a lot. I remember
Yeah.
we used to play shows in my old band at Mission Street Records,
Mm-hmm.
and that was probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And there wasn't like cool coffee shops. There wasn't like there wasn't anything really nice in the neighborhood. It was all just like weird, kind of like everything shops. Like shirts, luggage. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of Hispanic run businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been coming back periodically and playing either Elbow Room or, places around this neighborhood, and you see it change, But it's this is the most expensive rent in the country, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why do you still live here? Why?
I don't know. It's hard to leave.
Yeah, well,
like-
Seattle's expensive too.
Yeah.
And we don't have as much like cool stuff, as San Francisco has.
There's such a community here too.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tear yourself apart. I've talked about it with a lot of different people on this show about all that gentrification and the relationship between the arts and San Francisco, and how a lot of people leave as soon as they get some kind of foothold
Somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Sometimes it just makes sense if that's what you want to do for your job. You have to go to where, if you're an actor or something, say, you want to go to LA, or if you're in that kind of rock and roll band or musician where you want to do that kind of work,
Yeah.
you maybe should go to LA or New York.
Yeah.
But that's just because it's an industry-based thing. If you were into corn, if you, not the band, but like, growing corn, you would go to like Iowa. It's like the same. You wouldn't go to LA. So I don't get down on people who just move to a place for industry if it's necessary. But if they feel like it's like something they should do
Mm-hmm.
just because they're a musician. No, that's not true. You could be a very successful musician in any city in America.
Yeah.
It just depends on what kind of musician you want to be,
Yeah.
what kind of artist.
A lot of times, at least in San Francisco, it gets hard like over time. I think it's hard to be a thriving musician for an extended period of time here. I mean, there's really no one I can't really think of anyone who's even done it ever.
Faith No More.
Within the city.
Aren't they from here?
I don't know.
I think they are. I can't think of many bands. I'm really bad at this,
Yeah.
naming bands from cities, but
It's always like they pass through or whatever. San Francisco. It's just crazy.
I like the city though. It's fun. I liked it. I learned to like it a lot in the past year or two
Yeah.
from Iffy. She like showed me around, and she called it, what is it? Nob Hill,
Yeah.
above the TL, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't really like it so much up there, but down and around, it's cool. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I used to live on Washington and Taylor, and it's the same block as like the historic trolley center
Yeah.
where all the cables are going inside.
Yeah.
And it's now just a tourist trap, but
No, I like it. It's a
up
wonderful
there it's
city.
really nice.
You could find and there's a lot of stuff going on. It's very dense. You have a lot of density.
Yeah.
And so there's seems like a lot of secret kind of cool stuff you could find, like warehouse kind of maybe rave parties. Do you have that here?
I don't get involved with that kind of stuff so much, but
Yeah.
it exists.
I'm sure that they exist here.
Yeah.
And, it just seems fun. It seems like a fun, secret city to me because you kind of got to know somebody. It's a hard city to crack into if you don't know anybody.
Yeah, but also if you spend the time and money and energy to actually live in the mission or, in the city, if you're actually living here, you paid your dues, you're already part of the city. And at that point, you'll look up and you'll already know everybody.
It feels that way, yeah?
Yeah, and it'll be like, oh, well, I want to go here. I want to know about this thing. And it's weird because it's so small, too. It's less than 1 million people.
It is?
Yeah, it's like
But it's
700,000 or
dense. It's
800,000 people.
Packed into.
Right, but then it's second to Manhattan as far as density.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
And then it's the highest income inequality, aside from like Atlanta or something in the entire country. So you have the Gettys up on Billionaires Row on Broadway, which are like, $50 million mansions. And then you have, one of the highest homeless populations in the country.
Right.
So it's like, yeah.
It's pretty, yeah.
And it's only 7 by 7 miles.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So, I don't know. It's home. It's home for me. You got to show me around Seattle sometime.
Yeah. If you ever come up, I'll show you around. It's good. It's a good city.
How's Mountain View?
I didn't really see too much of it. I just stayed at...
Did you see any autonomous cars?
No. Is that something they just drive around? Like?
Yeah. Mountain View, Palo Alto. There's only a dozen of them, but you see them because they're always out on the street. There's
got to be somebody with it, right?
No.
Like somebody's in it, but they're not driving it, right? I don't even understand.
They may have like switched over, because I know there was someone in them for a while, like the last year.
My guitar player was saying that Google was building something in the Bay. Do you know about that?
Secret projects.
Do you know about that?
There's like
or is it a rumor?
There's like shipping containers that are parked out like over by the bridge that are owned by Google. No one knows what they are.
What are they doing? Nobody knows what they...
I don't know.
That's weird. And they've admitted that it's theirs, or is that still...
No, there's like, I saw something on it. Yeah, they admitted that it's like a little island that's of like shipping containers, and they won't say what's in it.
Bizarre.
Yeah, there's all kinds of shit.
It's kind of weird. No, at Mountain View, I didn't see that much of it. I just really just stayed. We got in at like 2 in the morning. We drove straight from Seattle. We left at like 8 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And stopped a couple times. And yeah, that's just how the thing had to start. But it's great that we got that first long drive out of the way.
So yeah. You're kicking off the tour right now?
Yeah, this is the first show. This is the first performance of the whole tour, and the first performance with a band that I've done in over a year. So that feels good.
Oh, you have a backing band?
Yeah. Well, actually, I did play LA maybe in November of last year, but it was just a one-off show with my band. But yeah, I have a band. So it's not like you've seen me before when I played with Death in June. I did an acoustic, but this one is I have a band.
Cool.
I don't know. You haven't seen them before.
No. I've seen the videos and heard the records.
Same guys I had last time. They played with me when I was on tour with Earth. We played at Bottom of the Hill. Do you know that venue?
Yeah.
And
yeah, that
was in September of 2014. So it feels good to be back. I like playing with a band. I've done a lot of touring without them this year.
It's a little more expensive to do it with more people.
Totally.
More gear.
Totally more expensive. But there's no real way for me to do a lot of the songs on the records without them, So I need the organ, and I need the guitars, and I need the drums, and
Yeah.
It really brings it together. It's a nice show. I hope you like it,
Yeah.
Are you filming it too?
Yeah.
Cool.
I was going to shoot.
We always make such good videos.
Yeah, thanks.
I normally don't watch stuff like that.
Oh, yeah?
Of my own band, no. I usually don't like them, but I saw that little clip you made. Well, it was of the entire show, of the Death in June thing.
Right, yeah.
And that year. And I know you shoot your own videos too, don't you?
Yes. Yeah,
you're good. So I watched the one you make. I don't like it when somebody just puts up the camera on the tripod and then they take a bad mix off the board and then they kind of just put it out, and it's like, it's not very exciting. And I don't know that anybody wants to sit around and just turn on their computer and watch an entire set of ours. It's different than if you're just there. You should be there. And people, they'll film me with their phone the whole time, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
put the phone down.
Yeah, it's an entirely different thing. Yeah. If you're going to make like a piece of video that's a piece of video, that's what it is, and that's one thing. If you're going to do, Scorsese, The Last Waltz, where it is a whole show and there's like 5 cameras and...
Totally, that's different
That's a whole different thing, but...
I think that's an unfair introduction. I think you have to see it.
Yeah.
At least for me. It's even music videos and all this like promotional music videos. I make those. That's not a fair representation of our band, but it's closer because it's more creative. It comes out of your head or somebody else's head that you're working with to make somebody feel something, right? That you want them to feel. So it's more like art, right? But just putting or like filming it with your iPhone and the shitty audio that you get from that, I don't know who wants that.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you don't really get to see it either yourself. You're not really actually experiencing it yourself. I have so many pictures. I do it too. I'm not completely immune or like perfect in this. Like I'll take pictures of bands I like, oh, they're playing, and I take like a series of pictures and then I never do anything with it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I do it.
Yeah.
It's like compulsion. It was better when not everybody had cameras in their phone, I think.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I
the
think
democratization of artwork and everything.
It's fucking terrible. I try not to look at this thing, my phone, at all, unless I have to. And I wish I started doing this thing because I felt like I was looking at it too much, like when I was bored or like I didn't know what to do with myself. I'd open it and like look at Facebook or something like that.
Yeah.
And I hated it. I catch myself doing it and just scrolling through the vapid nonsense that all my friends post, or political garbage, or self-righteous entitled shit. And then I'm just like getting more and more upset. And I'm like, eventually I identified that feeling in myself and I go, well, I started playing a game that every time I see a selfie, if I just see a selfie or the word selfie, I have to put my phone down for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And what I started to do more and more when I started doing that is I stopped looking at my phone. So since then I don't really look at it as much. But you have to promote yourself. You have to let people know that you're coming to their town, and the best way to do it is on these little apps, for social media, they call it.
Yeah, the biggest problem is just the mindlessness of indulging that and getting that hit of serotonin, norepinephrine that you get from checking your phone, and people just being addicted to that to the point where it loses any substance. Yeah,
that sort of validation that people find in it, in posting a picture and getting likes and then feeling validated, feeling good. You could tell sometimes when people don't feel good about themselves by the stuff that they post, to sort of get people to respond in this way to them.
Yeah, one thing that I read about last year that was really bothering me, because I have a lot of contention with technology, especially, having lived in San Francisco the last few years and having grown up in Silicon Valley. So I follow a lot of the public intellectuals at Stanford and at Berkeley that write and talk about all this stuff ad nauseum. But there was a thing where Facebook admitted to doing an experiment on some of the users where they showed them negative images and they tailored, their streams,
their feed or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. To see, negative things.
Huh.
And then they watched the posts that those people made. And sure enough, they
were more positive or more negative?
More negative.
That's weird.
It's weird that someone could have that much control over you.
Yeah. Well, I remember MySpace, and I remember a time before MySpace, and it's weird that it's like Facebook has really kind of moved into this. So they've embedded themselves into our lives. It's very difficult to exist if you don't have at least if you have a business or a band or a clothing brand. If you don't have a Facebook, it's like in a lot of people's minds, you don't exist.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just keep mine's all puppy videos, kitty cat videos, cute stuff. My personal one, animal videos. And I don't really like anything else, I don't really want to see anything else. And I don't really add any more people because it's just gotten to be kind of a circus on there.
Yeah.
And if people do say a lot of negative stuff or do a lot of negative things, I just either unfriend them or unfollow them. And I've unfriended people that are my real life friends. And then I'll tell them I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't think people should care because I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd when you put it into context. The context that everyone at one point cared about MySpace and now they don't.
Right.
So why should we? Why is this? People almost live and die on Facebook, and their relationships hinge on it. I just think that's absurd. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It should just be kitty cat videos and nonsense. And
well, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. You're buying what they're selling without
because you're using their format
without superficially admitting it.
Yeah.
You're using their network.
Yeah, and if you do, you have to be somewhat complicit in their insanity. But there are, people use it for good, social justice and stuff, but it's like social justice light. To me, it's not like actually getting out in the street and doing something. I'm not saying it's completely useless. It does spread information quickly. Mm-hmm. The internet is great at that, expanding knowledge, and people are becoming more conscious in a way, which is great. It's wonderful. It's just this format is maybe not my favorite.
The monopolization is a problem.
That is, and it's an independent business.
Regulation is a problem.
Lack of regulation, exactly. But it's just the chosen format. That's the only reason we use it.
Yeah.
And the only reason I even have one is because I was in a band that the guy who ran the label at the time. I was in a different band, and he said, "You got to have a Facebook," and I was like, "I don't want one." He's like, "You got to have one for your band." So when I first made one, I just didn't understand. You had to make one for yourself to make it.
To make a page.
To make a page. Yeah. And so my first profile picture for like the year was just my band's logo because I didn't understand it and I couldn't figure out how to make it not say Thomas Cowgill and say Book of Black Earth instead. And then he was like, "You got to make a page now." I'm like, "What? This is like already, fuck this, And then it's just been one thing after another with it, Now I think I could get to the point where I could delete my personal page. That's the only reason I have a personal page is because of that.
Right.
And, but I think if I ever get really, really sick of it, because right now I'm not completely sick of it. I still like kitty cat videos. And, if I need to reach out to everybody and say, "Hey, does anybody know a good, house painter or something?" And then it's good for community kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, if I ever get totally sick of it, there's a way out where I could keep the band profiles or whatever.
They don't want you to. Mark doesn't want you to.
No, he wants me to stay.
I met him actually in Palo Alto one time.
He's a young guy.
Yeah,
right?
He's a little older than me.
He's younger than me, I'm sure. But the whole thing is that NSA and the CIA and FBI love it. They just love it because everybody is just like putting up all this information about themselves into one place, and they're allowing themselves to be tracked, and they're telling everyone what they're doing all the time. And it kind of makes it like difficult, doesn't it, to serial killers don't have it as easy as they used to.
Yeah.
Because if somebody disappears, there used to be somebody could disappear off the streets and you wouldn't know. They didn't even have a cell phone, so you couldn't call them. Maybe they just went somewhere.
Right.
Now it's like if you disappear off social media for like a day or two, people think, "Oh my God, something's happened."
Yeah.
No, I was just busy.
Well, yeah, I don't want to talk too much about technology.
I know I didn't know you had a technology podcast.
It's not a technology podcast, man.
It is now, right? Well, that's okay. That's how conversations should be. I wish more interviews were like this, actually, because they usually just ask me the series of the same questions that I've answered 1,000 times.
Yeah,
but that's
I'm not a journalist. I'm just a dude.
And a person I've known for a while, so this is nice. Yeah. It's better just to talk.
It is.
And I think people like to, even as even the insipid stuff that you might just end up talking about, people might want to hear that over the same questions I've been asked 1,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. It's nice when, I don't want to make it too structured because
I love podcasts though. Like I don't listen to a lot, but my friend,
I could recommend some to you.
Yeah, my friend Larry is always recommending them to me. Like he really likes Joe Rogan, and a bunch of other guys I can't remember. But and he just thinks they're great because I think he grows pot in Seattle, and So he just has time to sit, and listen while he's working. And before that, he painted cars. So I think he just he gets sick of listening to music all the time. Podcasts are good.
Yeah, I go in and out of it. I mean, there was a time when I'd listen to music or entire albums and sort of get into that system. But I listen to a lot of podcasts now. Go back and forth.
Do you have a lot of listeners?
Just started. This is still the first season.
It's great, though.
It's something I wanted to do for a while, and it's also kind of after finishing my record, I became very hermetic and self-involved during that whole time of doing that project. So I wanted to mix it up a little bit.
That's great.
Check in on people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
So how long is this tour?
It's a month, roughly. It ends November 3rd in Vancouver, which is really close to Seattle. So November 1st, Seattle. Actually, I get to go home for a couple of days, and I go and do Vancouver, and then the tour's over.
Yeah.
So a little over a month. But I like it. It's easy for me because I get to pick when it starts and when it ends.
Uh-huh.
So the entire month of October, I was just like, let's do the United States then. Seems like a good time to go.
Yeah.
A little bit cooler otherwise. Excuse me. And I was here, so I just figured, why not do it now? And it goes everywhere. It goes to, we have only a few days off. So we're playing probably close to, it's like 28 shows. Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's busy.
I think that's the way to do it. I mean, we can't really afford to do it any other way. It's not like we could just play a show and just go to fancy restaurants and, and then wait and take our time. No, you got to work. We're working.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And it's great. I love it. I mean, I love touring. There's not much else I really enjoy this much because it's structured, but then I never really know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I could tell you where I'm going to be on November 3rd at like 7:30.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I can't do that at a regular job. If I had a regular job where it's like, you have to be here every day at 7 a.m., I would blow my brains out.
Yeah.
So this is like, it provides kind of normal structure, but it's also very chaotic. I love it.
When did you finish the new record?
I think I finished it in December or January of this year. But then it came out in July because pressing times are pretty delayed. But yeah, I own my own label.
You did it at Jupiter?
No, that was the record before.
Oh, this one before?
Yeah, that's Fear. This one, Songs of Flesh and Blood in the Key of Light, I recorded part of it in my friend's basement in Portland. And then I recorded part of it in the Actual Pain warehouse, office space in Seattle. And I recorded part of it in my rehearsal studios. And then I recorded part of it in my apartment because I could. And I used that same Shure microphone. It's a good one.
Oh, this one here?
Yeah, I like
me
it.
too.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's cheap and it's good.
Yeah, I've owned many over the years. It's very durable too. You can toss it on the ground if you need to.
Yeah, under that like puffy thing is like a piece of metal. It's pretty tough. It's a tough microphone. And it's great for bass sounds. It's great for my voice because I have a lower voice. Yeah. But it's also good for kick drums. And I really don't go into the studio with a lot of different microphones or anything, but we recorded the whole thing myself, and with the help of this guy, Sean Fleming, who did probably about 4 tracks on that record with me, engineered it and played a bit. He's a great drummer. He played drums on a couple songs and has a good ear. And then has a basement with gear in it, so we went there and did it.
Where do you guys stay when you're on the road?
Usually I try and get nice hotels, which sounds weird because a lot of bands try and stay with friends, but I'm just too old. I'm too old. And I try and get like sort of decent hotels, and I use there's an app that is good for finding pretty good hotels for pretty cheap. So
Kayak?
No, Hotels Tonight.
Oh.
Have you ever used that?
No, but I like the recommendation.
It's great. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
And it works in more metropolitan cities. Like, so if you're in like rural Texas, you can't use it.
Right.
But what would you be, it works in the cities that I play in. Yeah, I think it's good. I usually try and stay in nicer places just because, well, bed bugs, man.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. Do you know there's this website called...
I've had bed bugs.
It's terrible. I've never had it.
I actually have a scar.
That's awful, man. I'm sorry.
It's disgusting.
It's just terrible.
In Brighton, in England, I was sleeping with the buggies.
That's terrible. And there's a website called the National Bedbug Registry, and it'll show you all the hotels in America that have had outbreaks or currently are having an outbreak. And once you look at that website, you can't ever look at
dry ice, because they come for your carbon dioxide.
But what are you supposed to do? Sleep next to a thing of dry ice?
Well,
yeah. That's how you get rid of them.
That's like the homeopathic remedy,
right? I just would burn down the house. That's the other one.
That too. Just a gasoline.
But yeah,
just the secret.
Torch it. Scorched earth policy. I've never had them. I don't want them. But when you travel as much as I do, I think about it. And I travel a lot.
Deal.
I travel a lot. I stay in a lot of hotels. I stay in hotels more often than I stay in my own bed.
Do you bring your silk Oddfellows flag with you?
The
one that I've seen a picture of
on the internet recently.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time we've shown this flag. Yes, but I just had it made, so this is the first time. Not that flag. I used to take an American flag with us everywhere.
Yeah.
But we lost it.
Bummer.
In LA. And I always blame my guitarist for losing it because he's sober. And the reason it's his fault is because I'm a lousy drunk and my drummer gets drunk and he forgot it. He's sober. So he forgot. We were drunk. What were we supposed to do? You're supposed to remember everything.
Yeah, he's the designated.
Yeah. It's not really his fault. We forgot it. It's an easy thing to lose. It was all black and, tattered.
But that's not part of the show, or is it part of the stage?
It was always part of our stage before.
But
when I lost it, then I went. I was just like, okay, there's nothing I could do to get it back. It's gone apparently, and I didn't have a flag for. I used an Oddfellows banner
on stage.
Yeah. I think it's like a 3rd degree. I'm not sure what degree it is. It might be later. It's like the death's head chain,
right?
Sickle.
Yeah.
All-seeing eye on white. It's very nice, but a lot of people don't know what it is. But I use a lot of Oddfellows imagery in my artwork. And I don't know. I like it. Mm-hmm. I've thought about joining. I like it so much. The old imagery. I've thought about joining.
Yeah,
but I'm not an Oddfellow.
Oh,
I'm a poser.
I don't know if you'd see. I don't even know if you'd be allowed to even say so on this. I don't know how it works.
It's not a secret organization.
No, it's not.
No, it's just another fraternal organization like the Freemasons. It's very it's very similar.
But it makes sense, being like a craftsman, making clothes and music.
I identified with the Oddfellows more than the Freemasons, because the way that fraternal organization came to exist is it was all the trades that people were involved with that there weren't enough people to form a fraternal group around. So that's why the Oddfellows, they had it's like a shoemaker, a hat maker, a painter, and all these smaller trades. They all got together and decided to make their own fraternal organization, philanthropic, to do good, to benefit humanity. And that's basically their role. And I think that is also really intriguing, and to help one another. And it's nice, and it involves tradition, all kinds of things I like. My friend, who's a Freemason and a really great guy, David, he told me, he was like, I'm thinking about joining Oddfellows if you want to maybe go. And I was like, yes, definitely. But it's a big commitment, and their aesthetic is not like what it once was. In the 1800s.
It's a little different than 1800s England.
Yeah.
Whereas
yeah.
Now it's
a little bit more,
from what I know,
more bland, and I don't know.
Go play bingo.
I'd go play bingo. I'd be, yeah. I'd probably do stuff like that. And
I don't know. I'm not going to make any judgments or
I don't know
conjectures.
What they do. I don't really know what they currently do.
but the history of it and the tradition of it is something, where people can come together in a secular way.
Mhm.
And
But there's still tradition there. It's not just completely, it feels a little churchy, in a way. And because they have robes that they wear during some ceremonies, and the torchbearer's robe or the seed mover robe or torches, and they do certain secret sort of clandestine things about their group. I like it. I like that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I think I got into it because I was just collecting weird stuff. Actually, Audra, who owns Love to Death here, that oddity shop, I think I bought my first Oddfellows robe from there.
Oh, yeah.
And I use that robe. I wear it in some album art things. I just like it. I don't know. I like the aesthetic. But I am basically an Oddfellows poser. Like, I'm not. Like, they'd be like, it's not very cool.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't care. Maybe they'd just think I was weird.
Well,
because they don't use those robes anymore. They
Oh,
don't use the
right.
black
Yeah,
execution
I know.
robes. Yeah.
But you're not, I know you have interest in a lot of the sort of secular, like occult type practices.
For sure.
And that's definitely goes along with it.
Yeah, in a broad sense, maybe. I think it serves the same purpose as maybe what you mean. Initiation and tradition and all that. I love it. And I think anything that speaks to you is, you should explore. Why? Why does it speak to me? Why am I interested in this?
Yeah.
And I didn't bring the robe tonight. I'm not going to wear it.
But the Oddfellows and the Masons are both connected directly to all the sort of occult practices, whether it's, all the way back to
The Knights
Hiram
Templar.
Abiff and the the Knights Templars and that stuff.
Yeah,
And,
Rosicrucianism and all that. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And it's all sort of connected to like the craftsmanship of things rather than the ideological part of things.
It's a separation of the dogmatic, institutionalized, I guess,
Yeah.
traditions of the Catholic Church, right?
Does it go back to Catholicism?
Yeah, well, the Templars, I mean, they existed at the same time as, Catholicism. And then before that, the Cathars ran right alongside the Catholics. And there was a crusade led against both of them to get rid of them. So yeah, it's a different way of looking at things, but it's not too different.
Yeah, I was reading about Pike's Morals and Dogma last night a little bit.
So I'm not so well versed
notoriously
in that book.
unreadable. It's like,
Yeah, that's the problem with some of those older.
Yeah.
We speak different now. And I think even they wrote it to be complicated.
Right.
They wrote it to sound wordy,
Yeah.
not so efficient. But I don't know. Most stuff I read from that, when was that book published? 1800s or something?
I pulled it up right here. Yeah, the late 1800s.
That era, and there's books that I love from that era, are tough reads. The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky.
Yeah.
The Mystic Will by Leland. I think Thomas Leland. Those are tough reads. They're just because they're wordy.
Yeah.
But there's stuff in there. It's almost like poetry.
Yeah.
Complicated poetry.
Do you do much reading?
Not as much as I'd like. Not as much as I used to. Mainly because I'm distracted from reading. I try and read a book and I can't finish it as much as I used to. But yeah, I mean, maybe I read more than other people. I don't know. There's not been, I've read a lot of books, but now I'm not as interested in newer books, I suppose. And so I feel like there's always something more you could find and read, but I'm just not inspired to go out and find stuff lately.
Yeah.
And by lately, I'd probably say the past year or two. And I haven't really replaced it with like television or anything. I watch some TV, but it's not like I'm just doing that instead. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm always working. I'm always working and creating now. And it's like, I would love the time to sit and read a book. And I travel a lot, but I don't read a lot because I get motion sickness, which is difficult. I've had it my whole life. So I don't read a lot in travel. I usually just try and rest.
Yeah. You can listen to podcasts.
I listen to music. I listen to these Buddhist prayer bowls, like Tibetan style chant type stuff. on takeoffs and landings, or takeoffs usually, because it just really puts me into a simple state of mind.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than flying and being, angry or uncomfortable. Or I always see celebrities freaking out on planes and stuff, and I just figure, how do you get to that point? To freak out. But it's because they're not calming themselves down, or people freaking out on the plane.
Yeah.
You see people freak out, and you're like, "How are you? It's a plane. Come on, like, just calm down."
Yeah.
You don't see people, but people are afraid.
I hate like planes and buses. I don't think anyone
they're afraid to fly.
Yeah.
And they're afraid of what they have to go do. But it's just like, you have to just accept it. You're getting on the plane, and it's going to be pretty uncomfortable.
Mm.
But it took me a long time to get good at traveling. Now I feel like I'm better than I've ever been at it, because I've been traveling so much lately that I could, just kind of get into my own area really quickly, and just remember that everybody needs a little bit more time to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Put their bag away.
Do you practice meditation at all on
Yeah,
a regular
I do.
basis?
I don't know,
Or
regular, maybe weekly, but it's not like Tuesday,
Yeah.
6 p.m. I got to meditate. It's not structured. But yeah, on flights and places like that, or when I get quiet times, I do very light level meditation. I do isolation tanks. My friend has a really great company that he started in Seattle called Float, and it's great. I
yeah,
highly recommend it.
I got to get on that. It's one of the things I've been meaning to do.
If you meditate at all, it's incredible.
I just want to try it, just like I would want to try, taking acid or whatever.
It's
just,
better than
I'll do
acid.
it once and
Yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, because acid is like, I just took acid not too long ago, and it's weird, obviously, but you know that you're on acid. That's why you're hallucinating, right? But if you go into the tank and you hallucinate, or sort of lucid dream, or see things, you're not on acid. You're just you've just altered your consciousness. That's all, and that's what's really incredible about it.
They have that. They have those audio isolation chambers.
I've never done
They
that.
have one in the.
Oh, the sound designed to make it so that you can't hear anything.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reflections,
That's
and so
so
you go
insane.
in and you hear your nervous system, and you hear your circulatory system.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I hear that makes you go a little crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's supposed to make you.
But maybe if you practice meditation, it wouldn't.
It's the same. Yeah.
Sensory deprivation is great. I mean, you're in the dark, in the tank, you're floating. There's no resistance in your body. There's no sensation of your clothing. The water is room temperature and buoyant. And it basically, you relax very quickly. And I wear earplugs. I've heard of places where they play sound or music the entire time. That seems like
I would want that.
that's in confliction of the sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. I mean, an hour doesn't sometimes feel like enough. And I've heard of people going in for longer, and some places offer 2-hour sessions and longer. But I've only done an hour at a time. And I wanted to go before I left on tour, and I didn't have time, which is frustrating. But
There's probably one in every major city. You got to go.
I've got to go. I'm
I wanted
late
to
for
ask you
load.
about Harry Nilsson and ABBA, but
I would love to talk to you about Harry Nilsson and ABBA, but I really got to go. Maybe we'll do a 2-part. Maybe we could do a 2-part one.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Would you like to come back and do this again? Maybe season 2?
Yeah, we'll definitely come back.
Okay, cool. And what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. The Sam Harris podcast is very good. He's
Okay.
an atheist.
I've read Sam Harris. So
you
I read,
have?
I read End of Faith at
So-
least.
Cool. Yeah, he has his
I agree
podcast
with-
is really good.
See, I'm not an atheist,
Right.
but I like atheist philosophers.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like Christian philosophers or theologians or whatever as well. I like like the Pope, is a pretty fun person, even though I don't agree with everything he says either. But I like Sam Harris. His tone is so rational. I didn't know he had a podcast.
It's
He's
really
very
good.
intelligent.
I like it. Yeah.
And he makes a good argument. He's really down on Islam from an educated standpoint, and it's hard to argue with that. I think a lot of people have this knee-jerk reaction to him sometimes, that he's just
A contrarian.
yeah, right. But it's intelligent to a point, but it just might not be realizable, his dream or his idea of a religious list. And I'm basing this only off of the End of Faith, the one book I read of with a world in which we move completely away from religion. He said something really great.
Secular humanism.
He said something really great in that book. He said, there's not really much use for religion outside of funerary practices. Funerary, when somebody dies that you love, there's not much good science that makes people feel better. Religion really does make people feel better when somebody dies, and going to the funeral makes people feel a sense of closure. And I think I'm paraphrasing him, and I don't know exactly. He said it's like is the only balm for the spirit, like balm, like meaning like healing thing. But he said about everything else that religion offers, you don't really need it. Basically. And I like him. That's good. I didn't know he had a podcast. I will listen.
Yeah, the Dan Carlin one is also.
I don't know him.
It's a bit dense.
Cool.
Well, thanks so much for doing this. I won't hold you up, and I got to go too to get ready and everything.
Thank you.
Thanks, TJ.
All right. Well, I'll see you for season 2.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man.
And I'll see you later as well.
You've been listening to the Cameron Adair podcast made by me, Cameron Adair. Thanks to my guest, TJ. Thanks to Patrick and Different Fur for letting us use the studio. You can get the show on iTunes. You can get it on Stitcher, CameronAdair.com/podcast. Go on iTunes, write a review, rate it, subscribe to it. Thanks for listening, and join me next time.